Time's up. Oh, it's the end of the world, peeps. Can you believe it? I showed up prepared for this review with notes. What's up, peeps? It's me, your boy MC. Lego light is on. We are live-ish in the Lego Lounge. No real intro today, peeps. I just want to jump right into this review. And what are we talking about today? It is the Pantasy Cuckoo Clock. It is set number 85027. It has 2,163 pieces. And man, I have a lot to say about this set. So I'm going to do a deep dive review on this. I'm going to do my best not for it to be too long, but I don't know what is going to happen because I have a lot of notes in here. So first off, since we're skipping the intro today, let's just do a little dad joke of the day. Y'all know why the motorcycle couldn't stand on its own, right? It was too tired. All right, peeps, let's jump into it. Let's do a full review starting with appearance. So just to give a little backstory, we started this build on the tag team stream that I did with Kirkham Brick Builds. Go check them out. Link will be in the description. Fantastic friends of mine. Love them. Had a great time on the stream. It was their first live and they're naturals. But, you know, it's kind of funny, like probably a month or two ago, maybe even longer. It's been this year at least. Time is weird for me these days, but I was just thinking like, man, I miss having a real clock on the wall, not a digital clock, not my watch, not my cell phone, like a legit clock on the wall that tells time. I can look up there, I can hear the sound of the clock running. Like my mom always had a grandfather clock, or I don't know if it's called a grandfather clock. It's the one that looks like a grandfather clock, but it's about yay tall. It sits on the wall. Always had one of those growing up. Loved it. Missed that sound in my life. And, you know, when I first saw this, I've been looking for a while now for something like this, for a traditional clock that could hang on the wall and get those sounds back in my life. There's just something about it I miss. And then I saw this get advertised and I was like, oh, snap. And me and Kirkham Bricks were actually talking offline and we're like, yeah, man, I love the look of this. I really want to get it. So they picked it up. I picked it up. And then we came up with the idea, hey, let's tag team build this on the stream. And we only got through about 3 bags, but it was a fun 3 hours. Again, had a great time. Thanks for having me on that stream. That being said, we'll just jump into it. Appearance. It looks fantastic, right? It has, I mean, you can see the box. They knocked it out the park. Like there was no false advertising. Nothing surprised me. It's got great looking roof. I love all the little, I don't know what these are called, but I call them shields. Little shield pieces they use for doing like, I don't know, what is that, deco or something? I don't know what that roofing style is called, but I love, it's not tile or it's not the traditional shingles, you know. I just really, really love it. Like it would be made out of clay or something. Really, really love it. The little side roof they got going on here. You got the bell tower up top. I'll turn it on in a little bit, but you'll see the cuckoo comes out of the doors in the front. This little balcony type situation going on here, and there's little people that dance around inside. The clock face itself is very beautiful. All that is printed. It is a real clock internally. There's a really awesome scene going. Like you got stuff all over here. You got little trees and plants, buckets all around. Plants. You got a little water wheel going on here up front. That also rotates. You got a little bird. You got a little dog. You got a squirrel going on. printed pieces, no stickers in this whole set. It's phenomenal. Printed pieces for the bench. Got some little stacks of wood, I think is what these are supposed to represent over here. Another flower pot, another tree. Got a little wood shed on the side of the house. I love that. That's such cool. And it's got its own little roofing situation going on. Little stacks. They're all little tiles, but they look like little chunks of wood. Very, very cool design all the way around. Obviously, the internals you're not going to see here because the internals are all the inner workings of the actual clock. But I loved all the little designs here on the front that they put on here. Again, the doors for the Cuckoo Clock are all printed tiles. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. It looks exactly the way I expected. Even this front wall. I mean, it just looks like a little cabin. It's so beautiful, amazing. They knocked it out the park. And then it does have two variations, right? So right now, just to make it easier to do this review, I converted it over to the tabletop version. So this is it right here. But then you can also mount it to the wall, and it comes, you know, these. It's got these little acorns that attach to the bottom and hang down. There's this beautiful little what's the word? English is hard, peeps. Decoration, you know, that clips underneath the front, and then it's got this nice swinging arm that attaches, and it also moves when the clock is on, or I mean when the power is on. Clock is always on. When the power is on, it is always going. So absolutely fantastic. I can't appearance 10 out of 10. Like no doubt. They crushed it with the appearance. Okay, so we will just move on. I have nothing to add in terms of appearance. Minifigs. So I do have the one little minifig, and this is my first Pantasy set, so I'm just going to throw that out there. We'll get him up on the camera real quick. So I'll take a picture too and post it, but Pantasy's got a little different style minifigs. I like them a lot. I think they look a lot like Funko Pops. I'm a huge fan of Funko Pops. Now the hat doesn't want to come off. This is the only weird part about them. When you don't have a head covering on, they don't have a head. So that's kind of strange, but no real need to take the head covering off. He looks great front and back. I don't know why I'm not getting focus. My autofocus is on. So anyways, like I said, I'll take a picture, show you up close, but he looks great. He's got printing on the front, printing on the back. I once again don't understand why some of these companies want me to assemble their hands and arms. I think that's odd, but the hands look good, like better than the Lumibrix ones for sure. I definitely wish Lumibrix would come up on the hands. The only thing that kind of bugs me is that now they do provide a second set of legs for sitting. Like, can't we just throw a hinge on there, make it so he can sit down or stand up? Why do I need two sets of legs? That's kind of weird, but that is so minor. Minifig looks fantastic. They didn't even need to include one in this set, if you're being honest. So Minifig, he's a 10 out of 10 for me again. I got no complaints. Nothing negative to say on the Minifig side of the house. I'm going to skip over a build experience. We're going to come back to that. You'll see why. But we'll go to playability and functions. No playability in this. This is not a playable set. But the functions are super fantastic. In fact, we'll go ahead and fingers crossed we don't have any problems. We'll go ahead and plug it up now and let you guys see it as it runs. Do. Alright, so power's on. There's just a little button there. You hit it, you can see the water wheels running there in the front. Here comes the little cuckoo out the front. The little people here are spinning in a circle. There's 4 little characters. They're all the same. All 4 of them look exactly the same, but it's a little man and a woman dancing around in a circle. So much fun. I absolutely love it. Is there any other moving parts? I don't think so. You can hear everything moving, but it's not like crazy loud. Like it's not like somebody's lawnmower just got turned on or a leaf. It's just a, it sounds like the gears turning, but nothing too wild. But man, it looks so fun. I just love it. I love it. Like the Cuckoo Clock. I'm not and it doesn't make noise. Like if you don't have a cuckoo, there's none of that. That would have drove me nuts. If it did that, I don't know, like, no, turn that off. But it is, it looks so awesome. It is so fun to watch it all run. So, I don't necessarily have a rating for the function, but I mean, it's great, whatever. If I got to give it a number, I'll give it a 9 because it does, it does have some issues, but that kind of more relates to build. So I'll cover those in the build experience side of the house, but overall, the functions / playability, again, it's not a playset, but the functions are so fun and so original, so different. There's so many gears going on in here. If you guys could see all that's happening internally, it'd blow your mind. Like it's, wow, there's so much going on internally. And again, if this was attached, this also swings back and forth at a normal pace, not even this fast. It's more like, it's about a second, I would say. I don't know. I didn't time it, but that moves back and forth. So you got your cuckoo, you got your dancing people, you got your water wheels, and you got your time arm hanging back and forth. Super fantastic. All right, value. This is where it starts to get a little tricky. So if I were to rate this set on price alone, right, taking no other factors into consideration, the original price is $140, and that came out to about 6.5 cents per piece. And then it's still today, what's today? September 22nd, as I'm recording. Today, it's still on sale on Amazon. I don't think it's on sale on their site. I don't understand how that stuff works, but on Amazon, they're still selling it for $110, so $30 off, which brings it down to about 5 cents a piece, which you consider, even at full price, even at the full 140, in today's market where, you're getting sets at 10, 12, 20 cents a piece for some of them. That is a fantastic price. And I'm going to speak out of turn a little bit here because I don't have a ton of knowledge when it comes to the bricks themselves. But when we did the live stream the other day, somebody in the live stream mentioned these are Go bricks. From my understanding, just from listening to other friends and folks out there, again, having done really no research on it at all, Go Bricks is about one of the top alternate brand bricks, not design companies or whatever. I think they just think. Again, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm not claiming to be an expert on this at all. But from my understanding, Go Bricks are one of the top alternate brick making companies out there, outside of the obvious, right? I think the brick quality was very, very, very good. No real issues with the quality of the bricks themselves. They look good. Everything was very good, tight, clutch. I think that's the correct terminology. Tightness. It just had the good tightness. Everything snapped together really, really well. So, again, on price alone, 10 out of 10. It knocks it out of the park when it comes to the actual value price-wise. Where it gets a little tricky is if you do take in the other factors. Okay? And this is where we're going to move into, and I will kind of maybe revisit value again at the end. The build experience. I messaged Kirkham Bricks because, again, they were building it at the same time I was building it. And I was like, I can't tell you what my favorite build is as far as build experience. I can't tell you what my favorite build is off the top of my head. I'd have to sit down, go through every set I've ever built, and really, really think hard. Like, what was my favorite set to build? Not necessarily my favorite set. I can tell you right off the top of my head, favorite set, 1989 Batmobile, hanging right there. Thank you again for Mania Bricks. You guys are the best. But as far as like the experience of the build, putting it together, how it came together, was it easy, was it hard, were the things that didn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. Like, did the directions flow nicely? You know, were there too many stickers? All the other factors that come into the experience of building. I couldn't tell you what my favorite one is just right off the top of my head. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, peeps, this is the worst set I have ever built. I'm not a Pantasy affiliate, and even if I was, I don't think I would have a problem telling you that. This is the worst set I have ever built in terms of the experience. Again, it looks great. It's got great minifigs. It's got a decent value. It's got cool functions going on. All that stuff. Fan-freaking-tastic. I have a question for the people at Pantasy. If any of you guys watch this video, I doubt you will. But if you do, please sound off in the comments and let me know. Did anybody at your company actually build this set? I don't think you did. I could be wrong. Maybe you just don't care. But I hated it. Now, I will give a slight caveat. I started this build on the live. We started this build on the live stream. We got 3 hours into the live stream. Everybody was tired. They were hungry. I was hungry. So we said, all right, we'll call it. And I only got 3 bags in. And I was having a little bit of trouble after 3 bags. But in my head, I said, well, I was doing the live stream. I wasn't focused as much on the build as I normally would be when I'm just doing a pre-record like this, where I would just be sitting here quietly focusing on my building and less on the talking. I wanted to make sure I was interacting with the chat, make sure I was interacting with Curtis and Kim. You know, that's the point of a live stream, is to interact with people. So I chalked up that first day to, hey, I just was a little bit distracted. So then the next day I came back in here and I said, I thought about doing a full normal pre-record. I was going to do an intro and do my whole thing that I always do. I was like, no, you know what? I'm just going to do a top-down recording. I'm going to quietly build, and then maybe I'll just release it as an ASMR, or maybe I'll release it as a speed build, or both. I don't even know. As I'm recording, I just finished this yesterday. As I'm recording this, I don't even know what I'm going to do with that film. I very may well dump it because I had so much trouble with this set. And I even went back through the first section, the bags 1 through 3, and tried to reset some stuff to make sure it was, you know, all correct. Because that was a piece of advice we got from the beginning from another friend that built this set, was to make sure your gears are good. And having done many techniques, well, I won't say many, having done several technique sets at this point in my life, I know we got to make sure everything is turning and nothing's binding and all that stuff. So let me just start at the top of my list. I have a list, guys. I have a list. Can you believe it? MC came prepared. So one thing that I noted right off the top, I don't understand why, but it wasn't until I think bag 3, I will double check. I think it was bag 3 when you finally test out the motor on this thing, which I thought was strange. Let's see. So here's the motor test. That's at 102, which I believe is part of bag 3. Come on. Where's the front of this bag? No, that's bag 2. At least that's what it looks like. No, I think it's bag 3. I think I might have just skipped a page. Either way, they did not have you... Yeah, it's bag 3. I just totally missed a page. They did not have you test out the motor in the beginning, which I guess I should have just known to do, but like Lumi Bricks, for example, / Fun Hole previously. They always tell you right at the beginning of their directions, test out all the lights, make sure the lights work. You'd hate to get like all the way through your build and then the lights don't work. So I thought that was strange. They didn't have you test out the motor. Didn't get into that until bag number 3, right? Step 160, which I kind of cover again later in this, but step 160, I went ahead and marked it off. This is one of the worst designs I've ever seen. Now, looking at it just on the surface, it doesn't seem like a huge deal. You've got these little, again, I don't know what these pieces are called. It looks like a shield. And then you got this little clip that I don't believe Lego even has these pieces. It's got a little C-clip on the front, and it's got a 1 stud on the back, and it clips into the shield. And then there's a little banister along the front, this little banister that the little shields are supposed to clip into. Again, I don't feel like anybody tested this out because it does not fit snugly. Like, all the shields are just... It's because of the way the railing is done. The railing is not spaced equally. And because the railing is not spaced equally, they want you to offset the little clip on one side or the other of the shield and then make it work. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Okay. The next thing. So the little characters here that are in the tower, and then same thing with the clock face. They came with this protective film on it, which that's awesome. I'm glad that they put the protective film on there so that it doesn't get scratched. However, there's no pull tab. There was no way to get it off easily. So I'm sitting there like trying to get a fingernail, which I don't even have that long of a fingernail right now. I'm trying to get a fingernail underneath the film to get it off. And I was like, this kind of defeats the point of the protective film because I'm going to end up scratching these things trying to get the film off. Come on. Like, you could put the tiniest little pull tab on there and you could have just ripped it off and it would have been so much better, so much easier, and no chance of scratching. The next thing, the roof. Again, great. It looks so good, right? Isn't that amazing? But the attachments for this are terrible. And I'm gonna combine this with another problem that I wrote down. Okay. Everything in this build, for the most part, is very, very snug, which seems like a good thing. Here's the problem. Things like the roof, things like the gears internally, there's no room for mistakes. We had a term in the Air Force called slop. You got to build, like when you're building a schedule for the flights, you got to build in slop. You don't want to schedule flight 1, flight 2, flight 3 with no breaks in between. You got to leave a little slop. You got to build some dead space in between those flights, because if something happens on flight 1, now you've already, and they don't land on time or whatever. If something goes wrong on flight number 1, now flight number 2 is messed up, now flight number, and so on and so forth, right? They have no slop built into this set. There's no room for error. So, things like the roof. The way they designed it, so the roof is solid itself. The roof sections, I don't want to touch it. The roof sections themselves are solid. Very well designed. The attachment points are stupid. They have, I was trying to find one in my bucket of spare parts. I couldn't find one, but it's essentially that little, it looks like a little bench. It's got a little carve out in it. And then, so you attach that to a couple of beams in there. And then the other side that attaches to the roof itself are those little rockers. So it's got a set of 4 studs on one side that actually clip into the roof, and on the other side it's just a bar, and that bar sits down into that little bench piece, right? And normally it would have some flex, and it's used on things. Let me see if I can find something that has it. I can't find anything. But I know I've used it so many times in so many sets. I'll throw a picture up there, but it just doesn't work. There's not enough room. They did not leave enough room, so the roof sits so tightly that the room for error is 0. So if you don't get it in correctly the first time, the clips pop off the back of the roof, right? And then even once you get it finally set, then you go to do the other side of the roof, then it knocks off the first side, and you're just in this back and forth battle. And I know it's not just me, because I looked at other reviews. I said, oh man, Lego Light Ghost is back. I looked at other people's reviews. I looked at some, things online. Everybody's saying the same thing. The roof's got this issue. Great idea, poor execution. Right? Again, I wrote down this note again. The little red shields on the front, terrible design. Like, look, this one came off as I was trying to convert this to a desktop style in order to do this review, because you can't sit it down when it's in the wall mounted style. I was trying to get these feet on. I laid it down because that's the only way to do it. I started pulling these things off the bottom. Roof falls off. It's like, I'll fix it after. Then the other side of the roof fell off. I'm not even touching the roof. It just fell off. It just sitting on the table and me touching other parts of this build, the roof came off. So then one of these shields fell off. I'm like, oh my God. It's the one all the way in the corner. So then I'm like, oh my goodness. So I went and I ripped all of this face area off because it's hiding the ability to get to that one stud that's back there. You can't see it, but there's one little stud back there, a little clip, and I had to pull all of this off, reattach it, and then as I'm trying to reattach that one, all the other ones keep falling off. I finally got all of them back on, put the whole face back on, and then it fell off again. Oh gosh. So I haven't even put it back on. I was getting so angry. I'm like, I'm not messing with this. All right. Let's see. What else? Again, going back to the fact that it's really, really snug inside. The gears, if they're not dead on, and if you push them a little too tight, if they're a little too loose, they're going to start wobbling, right? That was problematic. And then there's a lot of gears going down the back side of the wall, and then there's a bunch of gears in the front side of the house, and then in between there's a crossbar. Okay, there was a Technic bar that connected to a pin on one side and a pin on the other, which connected the 2 sections of gears. Cool design, except what did I tell you? They left 0 room for error. Well, it's plastic. Stuff flexes, right? So that little crossbar, every once in a while, there's a mounting point in there. It's a little hump with 2 studs. I don't know what that thing is called, but it's got a hole. It's a little hump. I'll try to find a picture of that too. A little hump. It's got a hole for a Technic pin and 2 studs on the bottom. The little crossbar keeps getting caught on that mounting point, and so then you hear everything binding up again. Ugh, I have to reach in there underneath with like a pair of tweezers and pop it off of that thing. And I tried tightening everything up as much as I can. I can't tighten it anymore. It won't get any tighter. It's just, there's just no room for error. Okay, another problem, okay? I don't know why they did this, but this nice, beautiful water wheel that turns around nicely. Let me tell you what, they even put in their directions to make sure the plants aren't in the way. Why didn't you put the plants there? They literally put the plants in the spot where it's going to catch on the water wheel, right? This little decoration, the yellow, red, and pink flowers on the front here, they literally set it in a spot where it's going to catch on the water wheel. I moved it. I just swapped it with a different plant. I'm like, why? Why did you just not swap that? This is a terrible design. Looks great. Terrible design. Why did you put it right next to the water wheel? You even put in your directions. No, make sure it's not blocking the water. They didn't say that, but it was a little box and it insinuated it, right? Why put it there? I just moved it. I just swapped it with a different plant that wasn't going to get in the way of the water wheel. Again, great idea, terrible execution. Here's another problem. How do I change the battery on this thing? So the clock is, if you're as old as me, you've seen this clock. In fact, I bet you if you go to Walmart right now and you just pick up a generic $5, $10 clock off the shelf and you disassemble the back of it, it's the same thing. It's probably the same exact clock. It's been around forever. It's just a little black box. It's got the little screw on the front to add the arms, and it's got a battery in it. How do I change the battery when it dies? That clock is built into the house. There's no openings. I can't open this thing up. I can't get my fingers underneath to swap out the battery. So I don't think I mentioned it, but the arms on this thing they're what I expected. Again, this is in every basic cheap clock you've ever seen. The actual clock mechanism, not the clock face. So the arms are very, 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 very thin metal. I got them on there without bending them, but I heard somebody else say they accidentally bent them, which is not hard to do. The directions for how to put those arms on were non-existent. It just kind of was like here. But I figured it out because I've put clocks together before. But the only thing I can figure is I'm going to have to disassemble the entire clock face, pull that off, pull out the actual clock itself, clock mechanism, swap the battery, and then put it all back together. And as I've already explained, it's very fragile. I don't have to touch very much and things are popping off. I don't want to do that. Again, did anybody at Pantasy build this? Did anybody think this through? I don't think they did. Talking the directions. Now, I'm gonna give a little bit of grace on this because I'm a digital directions guy. You guys have been to this channel before, you know. I like digital directions. I don't like having a big book sitting up in my way, and then I have to worry about turning the page and making sure my finger and the lighting sometimes comes down here and I get the weird glare and I'm like, eh. So I will give a slight bit of grace on this because I did come back to the paper directions after I was completely done with the build, and it's, I would say, 10% better in the paper directions than it is in the digital directions. But the directions are not always the clearest. Now, when we did the live the other day, somebody mentioned that Pantasy usually puts red boxes around things to show you what you're doing. No red boxes in these directions. They're all blue. Everything is outlined in blue. It's a very light color blue. And when you're talking the digital directions, I had the lighting turned all the way up on my iPad. Still had a hard time seeing it sometimes. Some of the images were blurry. It's an iPad. This isn't a 1980s computer. This is an iPad. It's not the iPad's fault that the images are blurry. It's the instructions, right? So I was bothered by that. Now, some of the instructions, like this one in particular, shows some arrows. There's some arrows going on. But a bunch of them, it's just, you turn the page, you got your, and again, kudos to them. They show you the part, they show you the number. On long pieces, they show you the stud count. Great. But then they just show it like assembled, and you're sitting there trying to sort out where the blue lines are, and some of them didn't even have blue lines, and you're like, what went where? I'm just trying to guess and figure out where stuff went. And I eventually could figure it out, but sometimes I'd get 3, 4, 5 steps down the road and realize, oh crap, I put it in the wrong spot because I couldn't understand it. It was really, really hard to tell in the directions. And here's my thing, guys. Everything gets made digital before it gets made on paper. Why are the digital directions not the number one form? Like, that should be first and foremost for all companies, not just Pantasy. Lego, Funhole, Lumibricks, Mold King, whoever it is. You have to do this digitally first. Everybody's making this. Nobody's hand drawing all this stuff. So why are the digital directions not always perfect? Even if you make a mistake, talk about that in a minute, but even if you have an issue, why aren't those updated first? Those should be the first things that get updated. It hurts my head when the digital directions aren't the best. They should be number one, because you have to create the digital first and then print it out. So digital instructions were a challenge. These were slightly better, but not much. And then here's the other weird thing, right? So somebody mentioned the other day that apparently the original concept was this was just going to be wall mounted. Then they delayed the release of it because they decided they wanted to make it table mounted as well if somebody wanted that option instead of hanging on the wall. Well, again, I didn't even open the paper instructions. They were still in the plastic bag. I took it, I set it to the side, and I forgot about it because I said I downloaded the digital instructions. The digital instructions don't even include this, how to do the tabletop conversion. And then that's the other strange part. So there's 12 bags in the box. Box 12, or bag 12, is to do the tabletop conversion. Okay. But if you just follow these instructions and you don't notice this right away, or like me, you use the digital instructions, you don't even know to go to this, and then you come over here and it tells you, it has you build bag 12 before bag 11. I'm very confused. Who came up with this? I don't get it. Right? Here's another issue. They're again talking about great idea, poor execution. So, the little characters that dance around inside, they're attached to these little clear bricks. It's a 1x2 brick. Okay? So, these are the pieces that come in the actual set, right? And the characters get attached with this little clear plug. Well, the original bricks, I'll try to show you, see if I can get it to focus. Let me turn off the autofocus and see what happens. So, it only goes in that much. It doesn't go in very deep, right? Well, when you did that, when I first built it, I put this brick in there, attached the characters to it, and the characters were doing this number. They were flopping back and forth, which initially I was like, oh, that's neat. Except that was before I put the archways in. As soon as I put the archways in, I immediately realized there's a problem. Every time they leaned forward, they'd catch on the archway and start binding everything up again. So then I shoved them back. I said, all right, well, this is sitting flat. There's no reason it should be binding or should move. Turn the motor on, start spinning again. They fall forward, they catch on the archway. And I'm like going back and forth, and I'm trying everything. And I'm like, did I line these up incorrectly? What did I do? I finally hit up Kirk and Bricks. I said, hey, you're ahead of me. Did you have this problem? And they were like, oh, did you use the alternate bricks that they supplied? And I was like, what alternate bricks? They're like, there's a little bag with different clear bricks. Well, there was a little tiny bag, this little sheet of paper that tells you to swap out those bricks. Little tiny bag that just was mixed in with the extra base plates and the minifig, and it's just one of those things. When I opened up the box, there was so many bags, which was another issue, but not a major issue. But it was just like bag 1 was like 5 bags. Holy mackerel. I sorted everything out. I put all the extra stuff to the side. I said, hey, when these extra bags need to get used, the directions are going to tell me, right? That's the standard. If there's a change or whatever, they just tell you in the instructions, grab for that piece. And again, digital instructions. Come on. Update the digital instructions. Throw that note in the digital instructions. Let me know to swap those bricks. Thankfully, my friends let me know, and I was able to fix it. But it's just, I don't know, man. Maybe they're like, oh, you're an adult. You should be able to figure this out. That's another thing. There's no age rating on this thing. So I don't know what it's supposed to be geared toward. Clearly a higher level builder, but which is fine. I've built so many Technic sets. I've done the Bugatti, the McLaren, the Batmobile, the typewriter, all those monster trucks. I've done so many Technic sets at this point. I understand how things work. It was just so poorly executed. I don't know how else to say it. All right. Talked about the directions. Yeah. Again, so many things in this set are attached by a single stud, which means they fall off very easy. These trees, okay, of course now it's making me a liar, but the trees I've knocked off a whole bunch of times. Again, the roof, talked about that. This tree, of course it's gonna make a liar out of me. But yeah, see, there it goes. It started falling off right there. These little shields on the front. What else? There's just so many things attached by a single stud. The things just pop off. So, oh, this bell tower. The bell tower is attached by a single jumper plate. All I gotta do is breathe and that thing is gonna fall off. I don't want to touch it, just to prove the point, but it's only attached by a single stud jumper. All of that? One stud? Come on. We can come up with something different. I don't get the thought process behind that. And then again, kind of getting back into the instruction side of things, they have you build this water wheel, and then after that point, you can no longer build this thing standing up. You have to lay it down, and then in the directions, they've got the whole thing flipped upside down. So you're building upside down. I'm like, why? Again, did somebody test this out at Pantasy? Did they try building this thing? Because who wants to do all that? That is so silly. So silly. And then again, as you're trying to attach things, this little decoration piece on the front right here, these little curly things, somebody called it a filigree. It must have fallen off 5,000 times. I lost it inside. It fell off and inside of the house at one point and took me a while to get back. What in the heck? Because at that point, it already closed most everything in. It just keeps popping off. I don't know. They got a great idea, poor execution. Here's another problem. Okay, go back to the idea that this was originally designed to be a wall-mounted set. They came up with the tabletop idea after the fact. How am I supposed to power this thing, put it on the wall? Because here's the cable they give you. But even if I decided, hey, I've got an 8-foot cable, what am I supposed to do? Have an 8-foot cable running up my wall? I've got this beautiful set. Looks amazing. But I can only power it if I have a long cord hanging up the wall that looks trashy. I don't get that thought process. Why didn't we come up with a different way to power this thing? Why can't we have done like, I don't know, like Lumi Bricks does and have like a battery box attached? So I don't know. I'm not a designer, so I don't have a good answer to this, but I feel like the only way you get to use the power function on this thing is if you have a tabletop version. You don't put it on the wall, which is literally the reason I bought it. I wanted to hang it on my wall. Which brings me to my next point. So these are the wall mounting pieces. It's you know, you peel off the back, you stick this bad boy to the wall, and then you screw it in there, which I still haven't even figured out how that works. I was so frustrated with this build by the end of the day yesterday. I was like, I don't even want to think about it anymore. I just need to walk away before I lose my cool. So before I did this review, I wanted to see if I'm totally off base, and I went out there and I started looking for other reviews. And Pantasy does not have any reviews on their site themselves, or if they do, it's somewhere else. It's not like if you click on the set, like reviews don't just come up. So I don't know where their reviews are, but I went to Amazon. Thus far, and this is a fairly new set, it's only been out a couple weeks, but there's only one review on Amazon. And I just want to read this real quick to you. I'm going to skip over a lot of this stuff, but so I'm going to read the first sentence. A DIY cuckoo clock that actually moves and is a clock. How cool is that? The idea is awesome. The execution, not so much. Right? And he goes on to talk about the gears and some of the issues that I've already mentioned with the gears. Talked about the dancing figures, the clock, or the cuckoo clock, and how it sounds, and yada 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 yada. Right? Then he mentions the hanging stickers. Okay. The clock is silent, which I like, so I finished it and hung it up on my wall. The next morning, I came out into my room to find that it pulled itself apart and crashed to the floor and ended up in pieces. The hanging stickers were still safe and secure to the wall. It just collapsed under its own weight. So, there again, I say, did anybody at Pantasy actually test this out? Because I wanted to hang this thing on my wall. And now I'm terrified at the thought of hanging this on my wall. Because I don't know what's going to happen. Is this thing going to fall apart? And I can tell you, there's been sets that I've been frustrated with in the past. And I've brought it up on this channel and I've said, hey, this was a rough set. It wasn't my favorite, but I'd build it again. I will never build this set again. There's not a chance. It made me so angry. I need Lego therapy from my Lego therapy. It frustrated me from the get-go to the end. And that's the other thing. This wall-mounted design is a one-shot. What happens if I decide, hey, I want to move this from this part of my house to a different part of my house? I'm done. It's a one and done. Either you leave it there for good if it stays together. According to one guy's review, it might just fall apart and you've got a pile of bricks on the floor. But let's just say you're lucky and it all stays in one piece. What happens if I decide I want to move it? How do I move this thing? I can't. It's permanently in one spot. Another minor thing, but you can see the cuckoo clock doors don't fully close. That was just a little bit of annoyance. I think that's it. I think that's the last of my notes. The last thing was, can you even wall mount it? I skipped ahead, but yeah, Peeps, I'm so torn on this set, Again, it looks great. Great minifig. Great functions. Great price. Awful build. and I may get some hate in the comments for this. Other people that have built it may come back and be like, MC, you're crazy. This is a great build. I loved it. I have to speak my truth, man. And this was the worst build I've ever built. And I have a hard time saying that because I love building so much, and I'm usually not that harsh. But if I got to score this thing, it's like a 2 at best. Like I can't call this a good build. It's not. It's not. I don't. And if somebody else had a great experience, I'd love to know why. I'd love to hear it because, you know, again, I watched a couple other reviews and they were much kinder than I was, but I could tell they had all the same problems I had because they kept saying minor this, minor that, the roof, but minor this, but minor. Like a lot of the same exact things that I experienced, they said them. They just weren't as angry about it as I am. But I don't want to say angry, just annoyed. I'm just annoyed because, again, this is my first Pantasy set. I was really looking forward to it. Everybody that I trust has said, this is a great company, make great products. And even I've talked to some folks and like, hey, don't judge all of Pantasy by this set. You know, maybe it's the wrong set to start with. Just, I will be fair. I am not judging all of Pantasy. I have another Pantasy set sitting right here in the room that I'm going to build, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. But if I was a different man, this will probably be my last Pantasy set because I had a terrible time. I was so annoyed. And that's like even some of the sets that I own that aren't the coolest looking or don't have the coolest functions or the coolest minifigs or the best prices or whatever, I still normally really enjoy the build experience. I hated it. I don't use that word very much. I was not happy. I was ready to quit after bag 3 of the live stream. And then again, I recaged myself. I said, hey, I was live streaming. I wasn't as focused as I should have been. Let me I went back and I reworked some of the stuff from the live stream off camera. I was just like, let me get this lined up just perfectly so there's no issues. I don't have to worry about that. And then I continued on in bag 4, bag 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All of it I didn't enjoy. Just have to be honest. And again, if anybody from Pantasy just happens to see this, I'm sorry. I wanted to love this set. I was so excited. In fact, I was a little bit annoyed that it took so long to come out, and then I heard afterwards, oh, it's because they, delayed it for the whole, changing it up and making it a tabletop edition. Okay. I just wanted it. I was like, I want this clock in my house. I want it. I want to put it on my wall. I want to be able to show it off. And look at, oh, the bird pops out. The people spin around. Oh, it's so awesome. I didn't even realize the water wheel moved until I built. I was like, oh, this is so good. I didn't even realize this moved. So stoked for this set. And it completely let me down. But that's fine. It's not the end of the world. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I am afraid. I'm horribly afraid to hang it on my wall now, having read that review on Amazon. I'm waiting. I'm standing by. I'm trying to look for other reviews to see if anybody else has had the same experience with wall mounting it, if theirs fell apart or not. I know if I hang this thing up and it falls off and breaks, I'm done with it. But that's why I'm hoping to hear some success stories. For now, it's just going to stay like this. But I want to hang it on the wall. That's the whole reason I bought this set. But, I just don't trust it at this point. Too flimsy. Just the things that I've already talked about, they just fall off like that. So. That's all I got, peeps. Back to the value thing. I don't know. You know, again, price-wise, great. Considering the build experience, it's not as good, right? You know, you got to tilt down some when you start talking about all of the issues that it has. And again, I'm afraid to even touch the roof. It comes off so easily. Again, I'll throw those pictures up to show you the pieces I'm talking about. I just couldn't find one offhand, but yeah, it's I'll say it one last time. Amazing concept. It's just not a good execution. Peeps, I'm sorry to end it on a sadder note. I know that I'm normally like super excited and super happy to bring you guys these reviews. Again, I don't even know what I'm gonna do with the build footage because I was so annoyed. I had to keep stopping, tearing things apart, and putting it back together. And I was like, ugh, this is not a good. I feel like I'm gonna end up dumping that entire video, or at best, maybe I'll just put it out as a speed build. I don't know, but it is what it is. You can't win them all, peeps, and MC definitely lost. And I don't know if you guys noticed my shirt. This was my grandmother's shirt. No, you're right. Let's do it the dumbest way possible because it's easiest for you, Pantasy. Sorry. I'm sure I'll never be an affiliate because I am too brutally honest. But I'm not normally negative. You guys know. And you know, again, other than build experience, everything about this set is fantastic. But if you care about build experience like I do, that's a huge part of it. Like a great build experience can overshadow a lot of stuff for me. Build experience was the worst. It was the worst I've ever had. Man, all right. Let me get off this horse or this puppy. Little puppy out front. And let's move on. I don't know what I'm building next, but it's gonna need to be something good to bring my spirits back up, peeps. Thank you for coming. If you haven't already, please do all the things. I'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, thank you for coming. Holla!